Welcome back, everybody, to a less mobile version of Paul.
I could walk around the kitchen if you want.
Well,
Carry the laptop.
that is a distinct possibility. Are there any cats there to?
No, you know what? It's notable that we have never seen a single cat the entire time we've been in this country.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. You always see cats all over Europe. They're in stores and,
Have you seen
everywhere.
any hot specials for cat soup?
There is a lot of Asian food here. I don't know if that's coincidental or I don't know.
Yeah, oh, nice. How
It's
is it?
weird.
How's the temperature?
Last summer we complained, my wife and I, that we kind of didn't have a summer because we were busy spending the entire time moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a kind of a healthy thing to having a good, like, where you live and where I grew up and lived most of my life, that you have like the four seasons, and it kind of helps you mark the passage of time. Given the awful winter we had this past year, you kind of look forward to the warmer weather.
Yep.
Um, and in the sense that there's nothing I can't complain about, we've had so much warm weather this summer. I'm kind of really looking forward to the fall now, which is something I never thought I'd be saying. But this has been a brutally hot summer, and it has gone on and
Mm-hmm.
on and on. And it followed us from Pennsylvania out to Sweden to Berlin and back to Sweden again. And, our friends arrived this week, and I was like, good news, guys. This is the hottest it's going to be for your entire visit. It is the coolest it's been yet for us. And then the temperature shot right back up, and now we're kind of hoping maybe this weekend they'll go, but I don't know. It's been hot.
Yeah, all I can tell you, Paul, is that I think you just stayed in the pocket of hot air that was over your house in the U.S., and you've just
Hmm.
come
I
across
moved
because
it with me. Yeah.
outside right now it is 71 freedom units, probably about 22
Hmm.
centigrade, something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, it's
I
lovely.
uh, I want that temperature.
Well, I have bad news and good
Supposedly,
news.
supposedly this weekend it's going to get down into the 50s at night,
Oh,
meaning it will actually be chilly.
yeah.
Dude, I brought long sleeve shirts and jeans on this trip. It's Sweden. It's supposed to be cold. It's not cold.
Things that are not cold though, Paul, are PlayStation 4 console sales figures at 83 million. So,
Yeah. This is notable because let me see if I can get this number right. The previous generation PS3 has sold a little north of that. But as of the end of last year, that would be, like trying to pull these numbers off the top of my head, which is a disaster. I've been out in the sun. I'm just roasting. Anyway, um, PlayStation 4 shipped alongside the Xbox One in 2013. Does that sound right? I
yeah,
think
something like that.
so. This year it will be 5 years. After just under 4 years, or just over 4 years, they had sold basically 80 million units. It took the previous gen console, I think it was 7 years, to hit that figure, and then it kind of petered out after that. So this
Hmm.
console generation is going to be for Sony is going to be much bigger than the previous one. It's not going to be as big as the first or second gen, right? And again, I'm not even going to try up these numbers, but I want to say PS1 was like 100 million something, and PS2 was humongous. It was like
Yeah.
130, 140 somewhere in there. Um, Nintendo Switch, they've sold essentially 20 million consoles in, let's call it 15 months,
Hmm.
which is incredible. And Microsoft, yeah, we have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we had
Gamers.
that rough figure a while ago that it was about half of what the PlayStation was doing, but we don't really know if that's still relevant, if they're outpacing, underpacing
I doubt it's
somewhere.
half anymore. Yeah, I don't think it's half.
Yeah. So we will see. Other things that have been announced: Microsoft is launching a new build of Redstone 5 that has the new Your Phone feature, but it's only
So,
Your Phone feature if you have an Android currently.
yeah. Well, for me, it's not a feature at all. So, one of the things I'm going to be writing up soon is one of those what I use articles about, what I brought on this
Sure.
trip. And you may recall before I left, I was talking about maybe bringing only one laptop. Um, Had I done that, that laptop would have been the one I'm using right now, which is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Yoga, which is fantastic on a number of levels. But I like having a second one around for a number of reasons. But one is I wanted to bring the Surface Book 2 because it's running Redstone 5, and I know they're going to, I knew they would release new builds while I was here. and that potentially, the development of this thing might start winding down. So I thought that was important. I did bring that laptop. I've been having serious performance problems on that thing. Probably going to wipe it, maybe even as soon as today. I did install the build last night. Very excited to see your phone, which, by the way, should be called my phone when you think about it. I don't know, whatever. But
Yeah.
anyway, when the app comes up, you get one of those things where you can connect it to your phone, and that goes into the settings interface in Windows 10, the phone part of it, and you type in your phone number and it sends you a text message, and you download the Microsoft launcher for some reason. I've already done that, so my phone is connected. So there's another link below that says see what you could do, and it does not work for me, so I can't use the app. Have you installed this build? Have you tried it?
No, I haven't.
Are you aware of anyone that has? Does this actually work right now, or is it just me?
To be honest, I've been off the grid since about yesterday afternoon, so I don't actually know.
All right, so
I haven't seen if anyone's saying how well it works or does not work for them. And obviously, I use an iPhone, so that's not going to help out with the Android testing.
Yeah, if I remember off the top of my head, on an iPhone, when you go through the phone interface and settings and you send yourself a text message, I believe you get a link to download Microsoft Edge, I think.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
When you do it on Android, you get a link to download the Microsoft Launcher. I already have the Microsoft Launcher on my phone, and I already have the thing linked, and I don't know. I'll have to play with this. I'm very eager to see what this looks like. Mm-hmm. Obviously, the ability to access your notifications, your messages, and your photos in a semi-seamless fashion directly from the operating system is huge. So
yeah, very much is.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see. Speaking of other random things, so PUBG got a big update, sort of a big update. They brought analog control to the movement, which, if that doesn't make sense to you, just know that it's a good thing. And this game is shaping up. It doesn't crash anymore. Things render correctly. It just kind of works now. It's fun.
You're talking about this is on the Xbox?
Yes. On the One X.
Did they add? So yeah. Is there like a multiplayer mode? Did we talk about this? Is that PUBG?
PUBG is only multiplayer.
No. I'm sorry. Right. Okay. Maybe I meant a team multiplayer. I thought they added a new game mode. Is that not PUBG?
They have on.
This room's gonna collapse.
They have on.
Sorry,
it's getting. They've played around with things on the PC, but not really on the Xbox. So, yep. We have no audio from you.
That's me. The problem is there's a mute button on this thing, and I lean on it.
Yeah, the problem's just always you.
I guess on Call of Duty World War II on the PS4 now they have like a new game map where you're like the little green army men.
Oh.
So it's like a miniature map. They've done a couple of miniature maps over the history of Call of Duty where it's like you're it's like a table at outside barbecue is one of them, and so I guess in this one like you're all little green army men, and there's actually like a guy you can see like God up above you who's like making hamburgers and stuff. But I don't get to play that because I'm here.
I was gonna say, how does that make you feel?
Well, as an Xbox user, the funny thing is like they're calling it like it has a name like the summer update or something. Mm-hmm. So because if we get everything like a month late on Xbox, it's going to be fall before we see it anyway. So that'll be nice.
Yeah, they could just start calling it Redstone 4.
Yes. Yep.
Yep. And then Apple had a good quarter yesterday. They sold 41 million iPhones. Pretty decent there.
There's a lot of stories to this one, right? So obviously a huge quarter. Lots of iPhones sold, kind of flat with last year, but given the state of the smartphone market, honestly, that's super impressive. Mm-hmm. The iPhone 10, continues to be their best-selling model. Supposedly, that's kind of weird, but okay, great. The thing that's interesting though is Mac sales kind of plummeted, and I didn't find the exact date. I tried, and then I meant to try again, but the Mac market share is in the 5% range now, and it shot up to double digits at one point. Mm-hmm. I don't believe it's been this low in 10 or 15 years. This thing with not releasing new Macs, and the Macs that they do release are too expensive and have all these problems, I think is actually starting to bite them a little bit. And that's kind of interesting. And iPad sales as well were actually kind of flat, but the revenues were way down. And what that tells me is that people are buying the cheap one, right? So that makes sense. Like the new version of the base iPad is actually really nice, and it has some of the features that used to be Pro only, like Apple Pencil support and so forth.
Hmm.
But it's kind of interesting at a time when Mac sales are not doing very well, comparatively speaking. iPad, which is the thing that's like supposed to be the post PC thing for the future, is also really kind of just drifting along. So it's kind of weird. So when you look at Apple, you see this thing that's like the iPhone company. And on that note, the iPhone, which used to be somewhere around 75% of Apple's revenues, is now closer to, and I'm just kind of eyeballing this now because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but is somewhere like 54, 56%. So they're actually getting on top of that, sort of. But the thing that's making up the difference is the services revenues. Of course, services revenues are things that people who own iPhones are spending money on, right? So,
Yeah.
they're kind of still making money off iPhone, but they found a way to make money off of iPhone users that isn't just selling them another phone, which is still smart. So, Apple, it looks like they're racing toward this $1 trillion valuation.
That's what I was just looking at here. And
Yeah.
as of 11:10 a.m. on August 1st, their market cap right now is 981.9 billion dinero.
It's incredible.
It's
incredible.
Yeah. That's a lot of money.
They really are kind of a Teflon company, in a way, because you can kind of poke little holes at things. But, they never talk about Apple Watch sales, and you're like, yeah, whatever. They're worth $1 trillion. I mean, they're like a planet's worth of money. It's kind of incredible.
Yeah. No, especially when you drill it all the way back to they had to get a loan from Microsoft to stay in business.
Yeah, what was that, 1999 or
something like that? It was
like, not quite 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting couple of decades for these two companies.
Yeah, it kind of makes me wish I would have just bought that stock.
Yeah, that's the ultimate what if. If you had put $1,000 into Apple when Steve Jobs came back, what would it be worth now?
Yeah, let's just toy with.
Can you do that? Is that something you could actually do?
Well, I'm looking at their stock. Jesus, I think if this is accurate, according to Google Finance, their stock price as of December 10th, 1999, was $3.68.
That's amazing. What is it now? Like 150, 200? What is their stock price?
It's at $200.36.
$200.
Now, I don't know if this accounts for any splits or contractions or anything, or reverse splits for that matter, but
Yep.
typically these charts should adjust for that. I mean, geez, even in like June 2002, $1.27 share.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in June of that year, you'd be wondering why you would put your money in Apple, and then in June of this year, you'd be wondering why you only own one yacht.
Yeah. The thing is obviously everyone thinks, oh, if I would have just bought it then at $1.35 a share in July of 2001, I would have held on to it for this long. You wouldn't. I mean, if you bought, let's just say one share or whatever at $1.35 and you waited until 2008 and it was worth $23, you got 23x return on your money. You would have dumped it. Nobody would have held on to it for that long.
Honestly, I think the most incredible part of their stock price story and the value of the company has come since the death of Steve Jobs. And so if you had said, look, this Steve Jobs is dying, you got to sell the stock now because, whatever happens next is going to be terrible. There's so obviously this company is going to fall apart. I don't know this for a fact, but I bet if you looked at their, stock price as kind of a chart over time, I bet the big chunk of the upward jump is happening right now.
Yeah, I'm looking here. So I believe he died October 5th, 2011. I don't want to move my mouse because it's a little too sensitive here. But as of September 30th, 2011, the stock price is $54.47.
Now it's 200.
Yep. I mean, there's been some ups and downs, but I mean, it's
no, but there's a weird, it's not exponential, I know, but there's a weird kind of compounding effect that is kind of unexplainable by what they've released, what they've announced, like when you compare the stuff that Steve Jobs, revitalized the Mac and stabilized that business in, I almost said invented, but they released the iPod with him. They released the iPhone, the iPad, like these, what have they released since then? A watch, Apple Music. I mean, what are we talking about? A keyboard that doesn't work, uh,
Yeah,
right into space. It's crazy.
it's because that iPhone just keeps on selling, and they keep finding new
And
ways to charge more money. I
yeah,
think the biggest telling factor was that, don't quote me on this, last year at this time, the average selling price of an iPhone was around $600. And now for the last year, it was, or last
yeah, it's
quarter, I think
close.
it was like $715,
Yeah,
which is
yes,
massive.
right. And you can right. So you see the impact. You see it on the iPad in the opposite direction because people are trending toward the lower cost
Hmm.
one, which is interesting. It's a good way to revitalize a business that's been had slowed.
Sure.
The iPhone, however, is going gangbusters, and so part of the calculus there was like, can we make one that costs $1,000? It seems like we can. People, they see what people are buying. They know that people are probably buying memory upgrades at time of purchase. Maybe they're buying
Hmm.
the bigger one, which is like $100 more. It's like, is there room for a third one of these things? And there is.
Yeah, and their services business was climbing as well. That's kind of where Apple's, I don't, desperate's probably the wrong word, but they were throwing everything they can to find more services that they can just, you
Yeah,
open up your iPad and like, oh, what's this icon? They've got that new subscription coming. I think they're dabbling supposedly with a TV streaming subscription,
yeah.
and it's because they have all these devices out there. They can put an icon on them, and hopefully people will buy in, and then they get more money.
Well, I think people do. It's a loyal audience, and there's all these different kind of metrics you can look at. It's interesting. I don't know if you saw this story, but I believe that Apple said the other day that they have some number of million people. It was somewhere between 2 and 5 million. I don't remember the exact number that are running are beta testing a future version of iOS on some device.
Hmm.
And what this reminds me of is what Microsoft has said about the size of the Windows Insider program, which is several millions big. I don't remember the exact number there either. It is bigger. Um, because you can look at all kinds of different things. It's like monthly average users, if it's some kind of a service, or usage, like numbers,
Hmm.
based on, maybe web browsing or whatever it might be. The iOS ecosystem is humongous, and I
Yeah.
think the whole Apple thing is in the billions, but iOS by itself is at the very least in the very high hundreds of millions. And it's right up there. I mean, Android is a couple of billion plus. Windows 10 is 700 million ish, but Windows overall is probably 1.5 billion, somewhere in there. It's big. It's a big ecosystem. A lot of money to be made there.
A lot of money being made. That's for dang
Yeah.
sure.
Yep.
That is for dang sure. Paul, you got anything else from the hot Swedens?
No, I'm going to stew in my own juices for the rest of the day. I have to do Windows Weekly from here, and I'm curious how that's going to work on this middling. The reason I'm in the room I'm in is because the router is kind of right behind me,
Uh,
behind the lead wall that you see behind me. When I go up into the bedroom, like, you can literally see the Wi-Fi go down when you close the door. Like, it's not very good as
fantastic.
far as going. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be able to do a wire, but I'm going to try to prepare for that in some way. It might involve me laying on the floor next to the router. I'm not really sure how I'm going to handle this. What about you?
Just working on a couple things for tomorrow and later this week. I don't know. I might be traveling next month. We'll see. Just trying to figure out life. Got to take the dog to the vet. Yep.
Fun.
Just gonna let this run out. Not gonna turn it off.
Okay.
All right, folks. So that wraps it up for today. Tomorrow's show will be, well, tomorrow's Thursday, so it's not going to be a live show. And now I'm disappointed it's not one day closer to the weekend. But have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll catch you right back here next time.